Steve put more of what he has on the table, and Nancy liked it. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons LALATE. Hope you're great and safe. This is our 2-hour programming block that starts every day at 3:30, goes to hazard pay, then FPUC, and next rent assistance. And really good news, as a lot of you had asked, is Nancy and Stevie getting back together? And is the courtship of Nancy Pelosi becoming that Lifetime movie we finally do want to watch? Apparently it is. Really good news this Friday afternoon that Steve Mnuchin yesterday afternoon, which is different than what we heard earlier in the day, apparently put more of his package on the table, and Nancy liked it. Let me get right to the details. Steve Mnuchin apparently, if you understand the reports from Associated Press, say that he put out more on the second stimulus package to bring Nancy Pelosi back to the table, and that she liked it. Oh boy, this is getting hot and juicy, juicier than a biscuit full of country fries and some chicken fried steak on the side from Mitch. Let me get to the details. The parties did not get well reception from viewers or American citizens yesterday, as Nancy Pelosi made it seem by her choice of words that she, as an elected official who's paid by taxpayer dollars, was not going to work on your second stimulus package unless this happened. That she basically said, I'm not coming back to the table unless this happens. Where Steve Mnuchin, who is not an elected official but is certainly paid for you, he's a member of the cabinet to President Trump, the Treasury Secretary, said, I'll come back to the table. I'm ready to negotiate. And neither of that resonated well with the American public, which said, wait a second, we need money. We need money right now, especially if you're on an SSDI, SSI, Social Security, railroad benefits. I need those checks right now. And apparently that message has gotten it to them. So there's new indication today that suggests they could be coming back to the table. There is 100% confirmation that Steve Mnuchin's ready to come back to the table. The question is when and how soon. Let me get right to the exciting details. If you don't recall, because I know there's a lot of new viewers of this channel, thank you for subscribing, 10,000 new viewers, well actually 14,000 new viewers in just the last 48 hours. This can be done very quickly. Let me go over the great news for you. If Steve and Nancy came back to the table Saturday, yeah, they can work on a Saturday, and came to an agreement on the second stimulus package, which ostensibly they've all entirely agreed to with the exception of one provision, then members of Congress are ordered by current agreement to be back in town within 24 hours. So they would be back in town on Monday. Then the Senate would vote on Monday, the House would vote on Tuesday, the President could vote on the bill by law and sign the bill by law by Tuesday. We could have law by the end of Tuesday. That's if Nancy and Steve got an agreement on Saturday. So there's literally a 48-hour turnaround from the moment in which Steve and Nancy hug and get this done and get your damn money finalized to when it becomes law. It's that type of incredible turnaround. So let me dispel the incorrect, false reports out there. They're not doing anything to September. No, they may ultimately not choose to do anything, but they've been ordered to do something if Steve and Nancy agree upon something. They're on recess to September. Untrue. That they're going to vote on it in September. Also untrue. There's actually no vote set up for September. So this is really good news. Now, a lot of people have said, well, we don't know and we don't know. Well, all we do know is that what the representations have said, and all I can do is report on the representations. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin told House Representatives that Nancy Pelosi told Nancy Pelosi that he was willing to move forward on COVID-19 relief and get this deal done. This was Thursday. Said White House Press Secretary, whose name I'm going to butcher, Kayleigh McEnany. Did I do it right? I don't know. He said White House press secretary told press that Steve Mnuchin told Nancy Pelosi, I'm ready to do a deal on everything except one item, election funding, which really, I got to sit here. I can't even say it with a straight face. We are not going to hold up people's COVID-19 checks, stimulus checks, because of election funding. I mean, you got time to do that. You can do that next week. You can do that in September. You don't have to do that today. McCaney told reporters, Speaker Pelosi has been fundamentally unserious in these negotiations. Now here's some spin. One thing she recently said is that she needs $3.5 billion with a B for election funding, which is also actually untrue. That is fundamentally unserious. I talked to the Office of Management and Budget. They say some states have been given over $1.2 billion election assistance grants for fiscal 2018. This part of the second part of the report is untrue. It's sort of like what Larry Kudlow yesterday said, that unless there's a voter rights provision, Nancy Pelosi's not going to sign the bill. There is no voter rights provision in the second stimulus check package. He was fact-checked by CNBC. So there is a little bit of confusion, but that confusion is not coming from Steve. That's the great news. And the other great news is that Nancy has said, hey, come up with more money, I will come to the table, which is not the best choice of words, I got to say. And that Steve Mnuchin has said, yeah, I will come up with more money. Now, the week started really incredible. 2 weeks ago, we started really incredible, and we had more incredible great news on Monday when Steve Mnuchin said, hey, we have agreement on everything, everything, except one item, that bailout to states of $1 trillion. Now, your check hasn't been agreed upon. We can sit back and say, where's my darn check? It's being stranglehold. It's been vice script. It's been MacGyver, double jackhammer, twisted up by a bailout to states. And it's unfortunate because you need the check, and you're getting the check, you're qualified for the check, you're eligible for the check, the people have agreed upon the check and the manner of delivery of the check. $1,200 to all people if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or relevant benefits. $1,200 to land in your account within 10 days after the president signs the bill, plus 3 routing days by a bank. The $1,200 to everyone, even if you have a dependent, the dependent would get $1,200, adult dependent, minor dependent. $1,200 to people who did not get the first stimulus check because they were adult dependents. $1,200 not likely to be taken out for child support under the Democratic plan. $1,200 not to be taken out for property taxes or past due state or federal taxes. $1,200. And so now there's more suggestion from Steve Mnuchin. He put more money on his table. His package is bigger. His stimulus package is more stimulating. He's willing to stimulate the economy more for Nancy. Nancy, he's willing to stimulate us more. Take the deal, Nancy. Come on now. This voter rights thing, I'm not going to really delve on because it's sort of ridiculous. It's sort of like there's Casper the Ghost that's not making us formulate the deal. Casper the Ghost is not in the stimulus package, so let's stop talking about the Casper the Ghost, Kaylee and Larry Kudlow, Mr. Mathematics himself. There's another indication why Nancy has to do the deal today. Well, not today, but in the next day or two, and I'll tell you why. First, timing. There's 2 things that are not starting to look good for both Republicans and Democrats here, separate and apart that everyone's, struggling to put butter and toast on the table, is that the economic data keeps on coming out, and it's starting to look a little bit better, and Republicans are going to start using that against Nancy. And I told Nancy, I didn't tell Nancy, I told viewers of this channel 4 weeks ago that the Republicans are going to do this, and it's going to happen. The reason why is that the first stimulus package, its benefits are floating through the economy. Those benefits are no longer going to be there by the time in which we see August economic data, but we're currently seeing July economic data. And it's good enough for the Republicans to say, I don't need to give you stimulus packages, Nancy. The data's good. It's not good enough. I understand it's hogwash, but it's good enough to make the argument. Today, consumer spending numbers were out. They were less than expected. They came in at 1.2%, less than 2.3, but it was better. It was better. And so Republicans could say, hey, it's better, Nancy. Overall, it was the 3rd straight month of increases for consumer spending. The Republicans say to Nancy, I don't need to give you more stimulus. It's doing better. That's generally what people do when they don't want to give things. The next thing was the day started Thursday with unemployment numbers better not great, but better. First time under 1.0 million jobless claims since the pandemic started. Not a good thing, but good enough to make the argument to not give more stimulus. Hence, Nancy, you need to do the deal now. Don't wait till the data gets worse. Now, here is what Nancy can't do, and I'm going to be very frank with you. She can't wait till September to argue August's data, because August's data is going to be very bad. And it ultimately will help the Democrats' position to get more stimulus for you. But at that point, America's economy will be in big trouble. Given the constant unemployment, retail sales in August and the fall, we expect a very bad problem coming forward. Robert Frick, chief economist at Navy Federal Credit Union, talks about how we need to have stimulus right now, or it's going to get very bad right now, and you're going to see that bad data next month. Given continued high unemployment, retail sales in August and the fall, we will rely upon a large degree of the timing and extent of government assistance right now. If the lapse lasts into September, I would expect to see defaults, business closures, and perhaps personal bankruptcies starting to pick up. Eric Zwick, professor at University of Chicago Booth School of Business. So there's that. The next thing is that, and this is really critical, and people have asked me, LALATE, do you think there's going to be a deal next week? And some, the vast majority have asked me. There have been a few haters that say, I don't want to hear your predictions. I just want to hear the facts. Well, some people want me to tell you what I think is going on and my insight into the situation. My insight into the situation is that there is a growing concern among Democrats that this may start to look like Nancy Pelosi is trying to hurt the American economy to give a Biden win. It's very clear the optics of the situation. We all know when the election is. We all know that the race is relatively still close, 3 to 6% basis points, a percentage of degree of margin of error. And it's starting to look like Nancy Pelosi may be not trying to do a deal to give a Biden win. By not negotiating and say, don't come back to me unless this, it doesn't look good. What also doesn't look good, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be very frank with you because I don't mince my words, especially if I have some delicious Kentucky Fried Chicken in my mouth. Nancy Pelosi knows that there's a big date in late September. It's the government shutdown date. If there's no balanced budget, which at the moment there's not agreed upon anything, the government will shut down. Imagine the government shutting down during a pandemic with no COVID relief bill even signed. If the Democrats have that happen, and the Republicans will have that happen, we really don't know, sitting here right now, who voters will blame. And it's too much a risk for Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats to say, hey, I'm not going to negotiate with you unless this, because ultimately we don't know if voters will blame both parties and vote out both elected officials come this fall. Next, really interesting news about Uber and Lyft. You've asked me to stay on top of the story, and this is where it belongs because Uber and Lyft is a stimulus package issue. It's a stimulus package issue because the Democrats have proposed a grant to Uber and Lyft drivers because they thought you were misclassified as independent contractors and should be employees. Well, remember that California case I told you this week? Yes. That California case in which the California Attorney General and the state and the local city attorneys got an injunction against Uber to Lyft. Viewers said, LALATE, stay on top of that story. Tell me more. Well, the new detail is ready for this. Uber and Lyft is threatening to move out of California. Yes. They're threatening if they don't get their way during this litigation that they'll move out of California. Now, the new report today suggests that it's a risky threat because ultimately they may lose the litigation and that might not work for them. Uber and Lyft is trying another motive and that strategic move, and that is a new bill. They've introduced a bill that would propose that the American public, when they go to vote the California public, when they go to vote this fall, to decide whether Uber and Lyft should be classified as independent contractors to usurp the court system. That apparently is also not being well received. How does this impact you? It impacts you because that litigation says that if they prevail, they're going to get thousands and thousands of dollars for every Uber and Lyft driver to be handed in your pocket. Bam, right in your pocket. A lot of great details and a lot of shocking details in a day in which we really don't know what to think. That the truth of the matter is, I want you to have hope, and I want you to have motivation, I want you to have focus, and I don't want you to get involved with that false news out there. There's so much false news that nothing's going to happen and that it will be voted in September. That's simply untrue, and there's actually no votes set up. Moreover, what's important to understand is that this is August 14th. To think that Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin can hide out from each other all the way to September. Do you really think they're going to do that? I don't think they are. I don't think this is going to last. Viewers keep on asking me, do you think there's going to be a deal on Monday? They don't ask me if they think there's going to be a deal in August. They now ask me if they think there's going to be a deal on Monday. I don't think there's going to be a deal on Monday. But it's very likely that this could change very quickly. And within less than 4 days, those haters that want to jump in the comments and say there's nothing happening to September are going to eat it, because there is no likelihood that the voting electorate is going to allow this to go on all the way to September and then face a lockdown and then have an election around the corner and make it look like one party's trying to hurt the other party's candidacy for president. A lot of shocking twists and turns. The basic news to understand is if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, or veterans benefits, there has been an agreement. There has been a deal. And I don't want anyone to tell you otherwise. There's a deal that stimulus check is to come to you. That's the first thing. The second thing, the deal is part of a stimulus package, which so many of you, it's so wonderful now understand. You understand that the check is part of the package. And a lot of you have said, why is the check part of the package? That's simply inappropriate. Third, there's more talks today suggesting that, hey, what's been reported is correct. The turnaround time to get the check sent out to you could literally be a starting of the processing within 3 days of Nancy and Steve making an agreement, because it's only 1 day for House to vote, 1 day for Senate to vote, and 1 day for the president to sign the bill. He can sign this bill the same day the House votes. We have that type of quick turnaround time, and that means you can get your funds right away. Finally, a personal message. This morning in this morning's broadcast, I used an adjective to describe the $1,200 check, and I used the word measly. And two viewers took offense to it, and I want to apologize and clarify the choice of words. It should have been insufficient. The vast majority of those viewers of this channel, who I have asked over since April 25th when I started, do you think one $1,200 check is sufficient in light of what you have gone through from the month of April all the way to August? And not a single viewer has ever said that they're happy with a single $1,200 check. Everyone has said they are unhappy, that it should be multiple checks. The vast majority have said that they are entitled to $2,000 check every month for 6 months until the pandemic ends. They continue to repeat that the president said that you are going to get a check more generous than $1,200. So no viewer really thinks that $1,200 is a sufficient check. Many have used the word measly as though they're responding to Congress jacking them around, because ultimately Congress promised you multiple checks. They promised you a check for the month of March, April, May, and June, but took it out of the first stimulus package and gave you one check. And so while I apologize for that choice of words, ultimately the point was that it's an insufficient check in light of what you've had to endure. You're entitled to multiple checks. Kamala Harris has written a bill with Bernie Sanders co-authoring for multiple checks. The viewers think you're entitled to multiple checks. And as Steve Mnuchin recently said, he thinks you're entitled to multiple checks and will give you multiple checks if warranted in the fall. Boy, it's a Saturday morning. Well, no, it's a Friday afternoon. And it just feels like a Saturday morning because the heat is heating up and I'm here, you're here. I'm not going anywhere. Thank you for your support. Go to the front of this channel and hit that subscribe and like button, because this situation is changing by the minute. There's an alert button next to it. A lot of viewers have said I've not gotten the alert. So look at the pinned comment. I have a description of how to ensure that you are getting alerts when a new video goes live. I appreciate your support. Yesterday was the second most watched day. This is now the most watched channel in the space. We're doing more traffic, more hourly views, more new subscribers a day than anyone else. So I love the support that you and one another are trying to help, and I love the support that other people are trying to help one another, which is the theme of this channel, helping one another. Coming up next is hazard pay, then FPUC, and finally rent assistance. As always, stay informed, stay motivated, stay smiling, and stay LA for more.